Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on Spelljammer. I've been talking about the various campaign settings from AD&D, and I was starting with this one, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Adventures in Space. Let's continue where we left off. I'm going to finish up talking about what's in the Lore Book of the Void, one of the critical books you're going to need when reviewing Spelljammer. From then on, I will move over to other sources and talk about other important things you will need to know about. Let's start by finishing off two of the more monstrous races that are still going to be important ones for you to encounter. The first off is the Giff. Now, the Giff are a race of hippo-like humanoids who are skilled and practiced mercenaries and known for their military ability. They themselves have no magical abilities, so unfortunately, though they are familiar with spelljamming helms, they can't use them. They have no way of manipulating them themselves. So function as mercenaries or hired help basically going on. They oftentimes will tattoo themselves with little symbols that represent the various jobs and victories that they've had over their various years. Now, other than being known for their very militaristic attitude, they are known to be excellent fighters and specialize in a wide variety of weapons, including guns. They love smoke powder and explosives and guns, anything that just goes pow! And many of them are willing to even blow themselves up just to experience the explosion. They're also known to love to get into a brawl. They'll join in just for the sake of joining in if there's a fight going on, and though they will be ready to draw the weapon if things take a turn for the worst. Now, Giffs are happiest amongst themselves, but they can be more individual out in space. They work together well in a military-like organization or a place that has a very strict hierarchical chain of command. They themselves, when they are in groups, form up to be almost militaristic groups, regardless of male or female, as they are treated equally in the society, each with their own rank, which is bestowed upon them by someone of higher rank. So effectively, the highest rank people can promote people to their rank, and that's how they keep those highest ranks going, is that you have someone there. And then the rank system goes down with ranks and sub-ranks and etc., and each of them will display what their rank is, so that other Giffs will be able to recognize how prestigious they are in their own society. Now, when you're paying a Giff mercenary, usually things like weapons, armor, or smoke powder specifically are things that they are very willing to be paid in. Smoke powder especially. They will definitely be willing to be traded services for gaining some of it. Now, they do have some of the ships of their own, but since they don't have any magic users, they have to actually hire on spellcasters. These ships are usually loaded up with a lot of smoke powder-based weapons and contain a lot of it, so it is a very dangerous job for mercenary spellcasters that they hire on and get a lot of hazard pay for working on a Giff ship. Otherwise, they do travel with other groups. A Giff that's part of another crew will like to have their own quarters just for the sake of it because of their nature of being really want to be with each other and that he wants to keep to himself, especially if he's experimenting with soap powder and the such. Now, unfortunately, the Giff homeworld is now a legend. Even today, any of the Giff you would find out in space, they're too young to know what it would have been. They've been born in space or on another planet. So the Giff homeworld is lost to the ages as to where it would be and where to find it. There are a lot of rumors about it, maybe it was destroyed, sold off to the arcane. There is things like that exist. But if you ask any Gift, they describe it as a various paradise for them, that it has very lush jungles and swamps where their hippopotamus-like nature would love to be, and rich deposits of minerals for making weapons and, of course, smoke powder. Now let's talk about the Neogi, who are a kind of threat in space. They look like a cross between a wolf spider and a moray eel. They have like this kind of 8-legged body that stretches up into a serpentine-like head filled with needle-like teeth. They are unfortunately disliked pretty universally by everyone because if you should see one, more than likely they will attack you unprovoked. They oftentimes do that. They're xenophobic and hateful, and it's this sort of hate and dislike of every other race that has caused this kind of, general dislike and hatred of them back. They, though, have one thing in particular which is very important to them, their personal Umberhawk slaves, which are assigned to them very early on in their lives. Now, Neogi are known to have tattoos, very similar to how I talked about with the Giffs, but these tattoos are oftentimes shows off where they rank and basically how they're controlling a various ship. In Neogi society, it's either you're owned or you are an owner. And even in amongst a ship, technically speaking, the captain of the ship will own all the other Neogi under them and they will be its slave. And then, of course, beyond there, they would have their own personal slaves for this kind of cycle of slavery and ownership that, someone would want to overthrow it eventually and become the true master of the ship and owner of everyone. So it is a very interesting society that they have, this very slave-oriented society that exists. And the Umberhawks, as I said, are incredibly important. Oftentimes, though these are personal bodyguards, many Neogi, if they should lose them, will find their standing lost. Unfortunately, for many of the lesser Neogis, if a ship captain should lose his one, he can replace it with his lessers ones in order to then regain his Umberhawk slave, which means then a lot of times the lesser Neogis on our ship will do everything to protect their master's Umberhawk. Now, these tattoos that the Neogi have oftentimes will also be put upon their slaves, marking which ones are basically under their control, so having a hierarchy of tattoos showing off who owns what and, in what kind of capacity. They're also considered a true spaceborne race, as they have no major colonies except on smaller asteroids, and they don't seem to have any kind of sign of a homeworld existing. Now, they are known for their spider-formed ships that they have traveling out in space, particularly the Death Spider and the latest one, the Mind Spider. These ships are, of course, usually attacked on sight or evaded by someone else, because, again, more than likely, if they give you a chance, they will attack you. The Arcane technically does dealings with them, but it's usually through a third party. It seems like the only race that tends to work with the Neogi is the Mind Flayers, because they can get a great profit on the slave trade and use the Neogi to their advantage to a degree. Both of them have sort of charming / mind control powers that allows them to dominate slaves and such. And though Neogi don't really have a nation per se, there are circumstances which a bunch of Neogi vessels will get together and work together cooperatively, especially if there's a threat against them as a whole. They are willing to and will have ways of determining who the true overlord over the fleet is. The way that these Mind Spiders have been set up are allowing for more of these smaller ships being under a Death Spider and making for more fleet-sized areas. It's sort of like it's been built for a fleet. Now, Neogi have a very strange life cycle, to say the least. When one of them gets very old and starts losing control, starts losing control of slaves, forgetting things, the others will turn on them and inject it full of various kinds of poison. The result of this will be that Neogi will be transformed into a great old master. It will swell in size, growing very big and bulky and kind of blobous, lose all sense of self, and just be this kind of thing that then the rest of the Neogi continue to feed whatever they can have. Any kind of food, slaves, whatever, other Neogi sometimes, and continually feed it for a period of time while effectively young Neogi are existing within it, which eventually then they will burst out of the Great Old Master, a large number of them, killing it, of course, and then those new Neogi, which have very little to no minds, will be set upon each other for a period of time until about 3 to 6 of them survive this entire ordeal. And those 3 to 6 then will be basically taken into the crew as the slaves of everyone aboard the ship until they themselves can earn a place and get their own Umberhawk. So it's a creepy, kind of disturbing life cycle, but Neogi see it as old age, or at least most of them do. There are a couple that attempt to escape this, but they're always looking over their shoulders to see that if other Neogi would find them, they would change them into a great old master right away. Now, I do want to briefly mention, without going into too many details, 3 of the known crystal spheres. And these are ones that are pretty major ones set in the entire storyline. Krynnspace, Realmspace, and Grayspace. Each of these, the information that you can look up, will provide you with what its primary center of its system is, whether it be a sun for a heliocentric one, or a specific planet for a geocentric sort of setup. It will also provide with you a number of planets and planetoids that are circling around in the system. Krynnspace is, of course, the realm of Dragonlance. So if you're having a Dragonlance campaign, it will technically be set in Krynnspace. Realmspace is for a Forgotten Realms campaign, of course, and Grayspace is for Greyhawk. Each of them, as I said, will provide you with what the center of their system is, what kind of stars they would have, and all the various other planets that you might be able to visit in their systems, giving just a brief description of this information about them. So if you're planning to have your characters set in any of these spaces, I would recommend checking over them. Same with if you're a character from one of these areas, learn about it a little bit. So that's it for today. I introduced you to 2 other races that can be found in space, which are relatively important. The Giff, the mercenaries that love smoke powder and explosives, and the Neogi, the horrible slavers with a interesting sort of biology that are pretty universally hated by everyone. Then I introduced you to 3 crystal spheres that you might want to visit, just giving you a little bit of basic information about them. In the next book, I will move on to the next book in a series talking about more information about the general world of Spelljammer, perhaps introducing to you a few more races that you can see. But until then, if you have any questions, comments, anything to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.